Welcome to another edition of the Basketball Teacher Podcast. Our mission is to bring you discussions on a wide array of topics in the coaching world to grow players on and off the court. You can connect with us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, and also reach us directly through email at basketballteacherpodcast@gmail.com. Now, here's your host, Coach Mike Hernandez.
Welcome back, everyone. Thank you guys so much for joining us here for another episode. As always, wherever in the world you're listening to us from, whatever platform you're listening to us on, thank you guys so much for the support. Thank you for all the messages you send the show's way, the comments that you leave on the episodes themselves, and all of the questions or interactions that I get to have with you. I really appreciate that, and it's just been a lot of fun as we continue here on year 5 of this to still be interacting with a lot of you guys, some for years on end. Some of you have just reached out for the first time. Really cool. Really love that, and keep that interaction coming. As I was talking about with my guests right before we started, it's always fun to talk about, kind of that mental side of basketball. I think it's always really interesting to get into that sort of space of conversation, because something like player work ethic is so important, and you all who are listening know that it's so important to try to get the most out of your guys or girls. If you're at the high school level, you have them for 4 years. In the college level, maybe anywhere from 2 to 4 years, and we want to make sure that we're getting the most out of our players, that we're pushing them to the furthest, but also at the same time developing their work ethic, because you all know who are listening that sometimes your players don't really know the meaning of working hard. And so that's why I'm really excited to kind of talk about this with my guests today. We're going to talk about what it's like to kind of evaluate and kind of assess what your players' work ethic is, and then also how to develop it and really get your players' work ethic to the level that it needs to be for them to be successful, regardless of what level it is that they're playing at. So that's what we're going to get into today. And as always, I don't do this alone. I'm very happy to be joined by assistant basketball coach out at Capital Prep for the Harbor Sharks. Very happy to be joined by Coach Andre Fisher today. Coach, again, really appreciate you being able to come on here and spend some time talking to us. How are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm very happy to be here. Love talking basketball. When it comes to talking basketball, it's something that I love to do. I find random people sometimes to have conversations about the basketball, pick their brains to see what they think and what they see. So it's great to be here to do this today.
Awesome. I'm really happy to have you on, Coach. Let's jump into you, Coach. Let's introduce you and have you talk about your journey with the game of basketball, your journey with coaching, and ultimately, how did you end up at the position you're at right now at Capital Prep?
Well, it's started out. I have to go back where in middle school I fell in love with the game of basketball. I'll never forget. I was watching a Michael Jordan versus the Chicago Bulls versus the Utah Jazz on NBC, and I remember watching, and I'm like, wow, I want to learn how to play this game. And I remember the guys in my neighborhood would play basketball, and I would ask questions. And as I started getting my growth spurt, it started coming a little bit easier, where they'll say, hey, listen, just go to the post and grab rebounds and block shots and do those things. None of the pretty stuff, all the ugly work. And after a while, I'm like, no, I see Reggie Miller, he's shooting threes, and Michael Jordan's jumping out the gym. I'm like, I want to do that too. So as I went on, as I gotten better, the game started becoming my life. And I always got to, give thanks to a lot of people that I've met who poured into me, and made me realize that even after the game, the ball stops dribbling for me personally, I can give back to the kids. I've been coaching for the past 6 years. It started right right before the pandemic. I was someone spoke to me about, hey, training kids and things like that, and I started doing that. But it even went back further, where I had a best friend who passed away in 2016. He used to say, I see you as a coach. You might not see it now, but I see you as a coach. My wife used to say the same thing too when we first started dating, like, oh, I see you as a coach, you should start coaching kids. But I never, took it serious. I always said, it's not my time right now. I still thought I had a long time to play the game. And so when I finally decided to stop and decided to put all my energy into coaching, I've gotten so much more out of coaching than I've got even when I was playing the game. I've been at Capital Prep for 2 years now, my second season. It's been a whirlwind of, I came into a program where we were winning. We were a great program. And I was like, wow, this is the best way to start my first year as coach in high school. It's a great team, a great bunch of kids that want to work. They love being in the gym. And so
Awesome.
having to have those things to lean on, and then coming into my second year, I know that we have young guys who don't really like being in the gym, but they know that, the program is built on kids that work hard. So am I going to be the person that slack off, or I'm gonna come in here and work hard? And I think they've really, met us where we're at, and they've been just buying into being in the gym, working on the game, working on the craft, trying to be the best version of themselves. So
Uh,
yeah.
That's awesome, and to hear you kind of already in your answer, kind of be talking about the topic that we're going to be discussing. I think that's really really cool, and I think that's awesome. Coach, something that I do kind of want to pick your brain about and kind of have a conversation about is um, the transfer portal and the way that the environment is currently kind of set up with high school basketball. And I know that this is something that you have some thoughts and opinions on, and I would love to get your thoughts on what do you see out there that's currently happening with the transfer portal and the things that are happening out there for your guys, and are there things that you would like to change about the current system that's in place, and if so, what sort of changes would you like to see?
Well, with the transfer portal, that was a great question. The transfer portal, the thing that really I don't like is a a kid going to a program and you know it's I don't my 2 years here, my 1 year here, I didn't get to play a lot, so I'm gonna leave and go someplace else. We have kids that's 5 different schools within 3 years, 4 years. It's like, where's the stability? And then when their game doesn't really develop and they can't go to the next level, it's like, oh wow, what's going on here? So like I was looking at there's a player, and it's in the he's in his like seventh, eighth school. And I'm like, why do you get that opportunity to go to bounce around like that? But then on the other fold, it's like transporter NIL deal. Those things go hand in hand. So there was a kid today today I read about it, but I think it happened during the week where he's not playing football because his NIL deal that the school promised him didn't pan out.
Oh, I think that was at like UNLV or something up
Yeah,
there. Yeah,
so
yeah,
now he's
yeah.
like, "Oh, forget my team, forget the work we put in the off season. I'm gonna leave them high and dry because I didn't get the money I order the endorsements that I'm supposed to get." So that NIL transfer portal, I think it takes away from the the word I'm looking for. I think it's just like the how flawless the game is. It takes it away from that because if a student athlete is unhappy, if a student athlete is unhappy with hold on.
Yeah, I think with that too, just to kind of like add to that point, I know something maybe came up with your audio there. It's tough, and I think for us as coaches, we're in an interesting situation where we're almost like trying to recruit our own guys in a way, right? We're trying to keep our own guys in our program, and as a coach, I think it's important that you realize that your players, especially depending on the area that you're at, um, have a lot of options available to them. And there's guys who are going to potentially be looking for your players. And as a coach, you have to, I guess, trust your culture, trust yourself, and trust that your program is solid enough that, if somebody decides, hey, I don't want to be a part of your program anymore, then I guess ultimately it's like their loss if they don't want to be a part of your program anymore. But it is, I think, always tough when you have a player who you want to invest a lot in. It's like, oh man, like, I hope that they're here next year, but and sadly, that's kind of the thing that we have to kind of worry about or deal with right now.
Yeah, I don't. My audio just got messed up. I don't know what
Oh,
happened,
it's all
but I
good.
definitely, I definitely, that's something like I'm saying. Like I think for players to really be successful, I think there has to be like a common ground of, all right, if you have to be at a program 2 years. And
Hmm.
then it's your third year, if you realize things are not going the way you want it, then maybe you could transfer. If your NBA stock is not where it needs to be, maybe you could transfer. But having them come 1 year and then transfer out and go to this school and then go to this school and then because then we have a lot of one and dones. They said they don't like the one and dones and things like
Yeah.
that. But this is kind of the same thing because if I go to Syracuse today and I didn't get playing time, I'm gonna go to St. John's tomorrow. So it's like one of those things where is the continuity for the team? Where's the loyalty to the school? And yes, schools don't have loyalty for players sometimes. And if you also go to when you go to the NBA, things like that, there was no loyalty with teams and players and you see like with Carl Anthony Towns right now, he was been Minnesota for 9 years, 10 years, and they trade him. So it's like it's the twofold thing that I struggle with sometimes.
Yeah, yeah, and it's tough because I'm sure you kind of know this too, right? Like this system, especially in the way that it's being used, it's like so new, and there's not a lot of history to go back on that I feel that a lot of us as coaches are like trying to figure it out as we go, and then we're trying to like piece everything together, and I feel like rules are always changing and things are always changing, that like the way the system's set up for like one year may not be the way it is next year or the year after that, and we're all just kind of like scrambling trying to make the best out of the situation.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
definitely agree with that.
good
Definitely
stuff.
agree with that.
Coach, that kind of transitions pretty well to idea about player work ethic, and having guys who are going to work really hard. That kind of transitions pretty nicely. When you're working with players, Coach, let's start with what do you kind of do, or how do you kind of be able to tell? How are you able to judge and assess where a player's work ethic is? What are some things that when you see a guy, you can tell right away as like those green flags, those red flags? How do you kind of tell where a player's work ethic is?
I think, and that's great because I'm having that conversation right now with like players, my players too. Consistency. If you show up every single day, show up to school every single day, you want to be in the gym, you want to get better. Even if you're not with me, you want to get better. You're texting or asking for different tips and ideas. That shows me that, hey, this person is really consistent. They want to work. If you are absent from school all the time, you come to class late, you come to school late, if you come to practice late, those are red flags for me. And I'm like, all right, I got to really see what's going on with this kid and see how can I help them get to the green flag side of things of being on time, being consistent. Attitude. If your attitude is positive and great, I love that because then you're coachable. If you are coachable, then we will have a great relationship. If you're someone that pouts when you don't get minutes, or pout when you gotta come out the game, or if you didn't get 3 touches in a row and you're upset, hey, the ball's not seeing me, are you gonna be a good teammate, or are you gonna, go to the bench and be mad about it and not help your teammate that's down and things like that. I look at those things. If you're distracted because of people in the crowd, or you got some friends that come into the game and you're that distraction, those are things that I look at to see like where you are mentally and what is ruling kind of your world at this moment. Is it you trying to get better and go to school for free, or you trying to just do basketball because it's the cool thing to do? So those are things that I look at.
And so when you think about that, I think those are really good things too. I love the thing about the timeliness too, right? If a player's showing up on time, showing up early, like that for me, I know is a huge indicator. So, I guess my question then, kind of with something like that, are there things that of those things that you listed, are there things that you think as a coach, like this is something I know I can fix in a guy right away. I can, if it's not quite there, I know I can fix it and I can improve it, and I can get that player where they need to be. And are there other things where you're like, hey, this is a huge flag, and I don't know if this is something that is going to be an easy fix or not, and this might be something that's going to lead to bigger problems or down the line. How do you kind of assess like the things that are easily, you think, fixable versus the ones that are maybe larger scale problems?
I think attitude is something that's the easiest fix.
Okay.
Because having conversations and really like digging real deep, you probably could find a root. A lot of times, attitudes is caused because stuff that's going on at home, stuff that's going on in school that like they're struggling with a class or something. So then they start lashing out. I don't want to be here. I don't want to do this. I'm only going to give this percentage of my energy. And when you have those conversations and you dig deep, then you're like, oh, well, this and this what's going on. This is what I can do to help you. Think you need a ride to practice, you need a ride to the games, you got struggling with like bus fare to get to school, those things that I can help with, I can help. So then that would be less of a distraction for you, and your attitude is going to change. And that's also going to help your consistency. If you are always late to practice and things like that, and you feel like, hey, coach, I left my house early, but I can't get there on time still because of this or that. All right, what can I do for you? Do we partner you with someone else to, a buddy, and y'all come to practice together? Or maybe I got to grab you from time to time and bring you to practice so that
Mhm.
you won't be late. We're going to have to be really early, but you won't be late. So looking at those type of things, something my mom used to always tell me, you'd rather be 2 hours early than 5 minutes late.
Yeah,
So
I love
if
that
you
one.
gotta really, buckle down and get there early, if you gotta after school, if you gotta come directly to the gym and sit outside and wait or things like that, we can that you might have to do that, but you gotta put the effort in and say, hey, listen, I want to get better. This is what I'm gonna do to get better.
And I think a lot of that comes down to also as I hear your kind of answer too is also that player's like willingness, right? Like I imagine with those conversations that maybe you have with some of your guys, if you tell them like, hey, your attitude isn't where it needs to be, it sounds like a lot of those guys are willing to like listen and change their attitude. I think that's a big thing too. It seems like your players that you were mentioning can be coachable in the sense that if you tell them, hey, your attitude isn't what you need to be, here are the things that you need to do, it sounds like they're willing to do it, which I think is a big thing as well.
Yeah, that's definitely it. I think as a coach, you realize that you spend a lot of time with the athletes more than
Mhm.
sometimes their families, especially during the bulk of the season where
Yeah.
you're practicing 5, 6 days a week and you got road games. And I think those road games is where you kind of build those relationships. I always look for it. Like last year, I really got to talk to the freshmen and get to know them a little bit more because of the road games. You're not playing and you're sitting on the bench and you're like, I should be in the game. And me as a coach, I'm having conversations. All right, what did you see? What could you have done if you was in that position? We watch film together. We'll talk about life, school, summer training program, things like that, just to kind of build those relationships and those habits. Because a lot of times people just want to be heard.
Mm.
So I think that's what that was for me, like just having those conversations and building relationships. So now, like even going into this year, we have they're sophomores now, but they know, hey, listen, this is what both coaches look from us. Like this is what they want us defensively. They want us to lock in. When practice is on, we don't play around. We take it seriously. And they could tell the younger guys, hey, this is what the coaches expect from us. So this is what we need to do.
Yeah, and it sounds like those guys that you're talking about seem to be, bought in right away as freshmen, and that seems to be something that's also really important about like the way that you bring in those freshmen and the expectations that you set for them right away, I think is really kind of sets the way for the next 4 years. And from what it is that you said, it seems like it's kind of a priority when those freshmen come in right away that they know from day one exactly what it is that's like expected of them or what it is that they need to do. Like you get them and you lay it out for them right away to make sure they know what the expectations are. Is that something that I'm correct in thinking of?
Yeah, definitely that's what it is. It's like I think last year we had a freshman that started with our group. He played starter minutes and he hit that wall in the middle
Mm.
of the season where he couldn't buy a basket, and then he not shooting good started getting in his head. So then defensively he started struggling. So it's like one of those things where yeah, you're struggling offensively, but you still gotta do what got you on the court. Defense is what got you on the court.
Yeah.
So us having conversations going back to, hey, listen, this is what got you here. You got on the court because of defense. So yes, you were making shots when we swung on the third pass. You was open. You got the corner shot. That's good. I like that. You getting steals and getting layups. But let's get back to the defense. You
Mm.
guarding your man. You doing help defense. You taking charges. Those things like that get kept you on the floor. So yes, you can't. You're not scoring, but we got people that can score. Our three best players over 1,000 points each. They can score. I need you to go out there and go guard somebody. So after having those conversations, he was like, coach, you're right. I got this. And he got back in the mood and the groove of, hey, listen, I'm gonna go play defense. And he said, I'm gonna come back this year in the best shape. And he actually has been in one of the best shapes since last year to this year. You could tell that he worked harder on his body this summer.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, and that's awesome for you to share that because you know this, right? You've been coaching long enough to know that sometimes when players' offensive game isn't on, then everything else goes away. So for that guy to understand the message and say, hey, like you got to lock down, you got to defend because no matter what happens offensively, you have to always be at this high level defensively. And I think for you to have a player who like takes the challenge of wanting to be a great defender and then physically putting in the work, like I'm sure that's a guy that that you can have a lot of trust in going forward.
Yeah, definitely. I think, and that's something where, and I challenged them this summer. I said, let's get on a track. Let's run. We're gonna do skill work, of course, but I want to break your bodies all the way down and start from scratch. So
I
let's
like
see what
that.
you do. And our freshman class they were all in it. They was like, you know what, coach, we're gonna work because we didn't get to play last year that much, and we saw those guys really, carry us. And I'm like, they was like, I want to get playing time this year, so I'm gonna
Hmm.
work hard on my body. And when I did the first day of conditioning workouts, I'll never forget. It was June 23rd, and everybody met me at the track, and everybody was there on time. Everybody was early, and we worked hard. And you could tell like kids want to really get better, and the kids knew like, all right, we got a taste of what winning felt like, but we
Yeah.
sat and watched what winning felt like. Now we get to be a part of it even more. So I'm gonna work really hard and get to be one of those guys that contribute with the winning, no matter what. So it was good to see them focused and locked in going into the summer and into now.
Yeah, no, for sure. Coach, on that topic, I was curious about how you purposely challenge players. How do you put them in situations where, their work ethic or that mental toughness is challenged? How do you kind of like design situations, kind of like what you talked about now, so the way that they were running over the summer? How do you kind of on the court put them in situations where they're gonna, really be tested and really be challenged?
I think for me, for practice especially, like I always like, simulate high pressure games. So like yesterday we had score was 30. Yesterday we did score was 35. Other team had 33. The team that had 33 had a free throw to make. They made they had 35. The team had 35 had a free throw to make to put them up three. And then we have to come down and we got to run the best play and finish the game and win the game. So we came down, we took a bad shot, called timeout, made adjustments, we fixed it, and then the second group ended up winning the game. But it was us coming down and feeling like the game was on the line. We have to get this win. We have to do the right things defensively and offensively. We can't come down and take a bad shot and expect us to win the game. So I do that. And I also like set goals of I have a kid who was our freshman big last year, and my biggest goal for him was for him to slim down and be able to finish around the basket at a high level. So we just spent the whole time working on his hands, working on him finishing. Even when he was going to the basket, missing layups, he started all over. A lot of push-ups, a lot of reps, a lot of him hating me for a while, to him finally getting to the point of he could catch it and finish and not think about it. And I think a lot of things that I realize a lot of our kids do now is they play a lot of pickup, but they play a lot of bad basketball.
Mm.
So when they come to practice, they think, "Oh, well, I shot some threes in pickup, so I'm gonna shoot threes now." No, I need you to do what you need to do for us to win. Shooting threes is not gonna help us win. But if on a screen and roll, you're rolling and not popping, that's gonna help us because now you get into the paint, you're causing confusion. The defense don't know how to react. You either get a layup or the person that comes off the screen, they got a jump shot. Or they can pitch it to someone else in the corner who have a good shot. So just be able to read the game correctly, having them like mimic stuff that's going on. And we do a lot of running. So like putting them in positions where their body is like, I don't know if I could do this anymore. I don't want to do this again, but I'm gonna do it because this is gonna help us win. So having them shoot free throws when they're tired. I think that's something that I learned as a player. That the best time you should see who you are when you're fatigued. When the game is close, you're fatigued, and you need a free throw, you need a stop, you need someone to dive on the floor for loose balls, those things like that.
No, I completely agree. If you can get your guys to be making plays or have to do decisions or free throws, whatever it is when they're tired, that's a way of, developing their mental toughness and their work ethic because, right? I mean, I've said this before on here and I'm sure you see this too, where guys, they can shoot really well, stationary, they're not tired, they can, make 10, 12 threes in a row, but all of a sudden you have them run a little bit, work a little bit and try to get some shots up. All of a sudden it's a completely different story, right?
Definitely, I
Yeah.
definitely agree with
Yeah.
that.
So when you think about players hitting that wall, coach, what are you thinking? Like you talked about that guy that you worked with who was having trouble, like I think you said kind of like finishing and getting and finishing off their moves and everything. Where were they, or where do you kind of see players are like hitting the wall? Is it just being able to like finish a move? Is it with their footwork? Is it with their hands? Where are kind of those challenges really coming where players are kind of struggling with?
I think it's body language. You start
Mm,
seeing it when the body language start changing. when they're not happy, when they're not happy to be at practice, when they're not even happy to be at the game. I think that's when you know, like, all right, a player has checked out, and we got to find a way to check them back in. So,
Mm,
like going back to having conversations is going back to, I think it's not even about finishing at the rim. For him in particular, it wasn't finishing at the rim. It was him doing the move and someone touching him, and he getting thrown off because of a ticky tack foul and not be able to finish through. And then, they played a referee game. Well, the ref didn't make that call,
yeah.
but you got to play through that. If you're worrying about the hit, then you are never going to make a layup.
Mm,
If you remember about the referee not blowing the whistle, then you're gonna mess up the whole game. Just play your game. You're gonna get hit. Refs are gonna miss calls. That they do that. It happens. Hard.
yeah.
It's how it goes. But you
Excellent
gotta be
fact.
able to
Yeah.
play through it. You gotta be able to say, you know what? Forget that. On to the next play. Forget that. I'm gonna go. You know what? I'm not getting no fouls called down here. I'm getting hit. Next time, I'm gonna go again. I'm gonna keep doing it. If not, I'm gonna find my teammate that's open. I'm gonna get them a shot. I'm gonna go grab rebounds. You know what? I can't make layups on a spin move or on a post up. I can't get a layup. Fine. Next time, kick it out to someone else, get an open shot. You know what? I'm gonna go get rebound. I'm gonna go get some. I can't get no points. Let me get 10 rebounds. Let me get 12 rebounds. Let me do that. So, like with this kid, for example, I said, you're struggling right now offensively. So what I need from you defensively now, I need you to go grab me some rebounds. So I need
Hmm.
4 rebounds in a few minutes. Go get me 4 rebounds. Two offensive, two defensively. And those were the challenges where we would have those conversations in practice, like the ball go up, put a body on somebody, go get that. If you don't get that, make sure your teammates get that. But I need you to do the little things to help us. And then once we started doing those things, he kind of started playing so much better. And it was like, all right, you know what? Now the shots are gonna fall, lifts are gonna fall. Now you feel comfortable and confident, like, oh, I'm getting back to myself now. But you did the little things, and that's what got you there.
One of the things you brought up a couple times, Coach, and I think that that's something really important to kind of mention and talk about is you seem to be somebody who is very big on defensive effort and the way that players are playing defensively. Is that kind of a mandatory part of your program? Is that something that's constantly being worked on in practice? Is that something that's constantly being emphasized? Is that defensive effort and execution?
Yeah, definitely that is something that I also told myself as a coach that this past summer I was going to get better at,
Hmm.
like, just watching defensive film and things like that, asking the right questions to people. So when I brought it back to my guys, I could say, listen, this is what I learned. This is what I saw. This is what I know that can work. Because a lot of times the ball is not going to fall in the basket. You're going to struggle with shots. You're going to have a bad shooting game, and you got to find ways to still be in the game. Even when you're out of it, you still got to find a way to be in it. And the best way to be in it is playing defense. If you're going to stop somebody or slow someone down, you'll give yourself a fighting chance to win. And it might be a slugfest where it's 40, 45, 44 game, but you got to have those dog fights. And I think for me, that kind of came when the Spurs played Detroit in the finals. And I
Oh.
s the sl and that slugfest is what really kind of made me realize that no matter what, the defense is gonna win the game, and it's not gonna be pretty, it's gonna be probably be boring, no one wants to watch it, but when you have them type of games, someone is gonna win, someone's gonna lose, but it's gonna be who plays the hardest,
Mm.
who got the extra rebound, who made the extra stop, who dove on the ground for loose balls. I'm big on if the ball's in front of you and that person that's next to you on the other team is gonna dive down and you didn't dive down, you're getting subbed out.
Yeah.
You gotta come sit next to me because
Okay.
that means that you don't have no effort. And I always tell players, I don't want to coach your effort. I want your effort to be from within. I will push you, but I don't want to have to coach that because you got to want this. You got to say, you know what? I want to go out there and I want to win. I want to be the best that I can be. I'm gonna do the small things and it's gonna all, correlate to us winning. So yeah, defense is and I always say, because my goal is to one day be a college coach. And one thing that I'm gonna bring to any program I go to is defense. So yes, I'm a student in the game right now. I'm watching film, I'm taking notes, I'm studying, asking questions because I'm building my defense portfolio as we go.
I love to hear that too, and that's a real good point though that you mentioned, right, about the work ethic thing where you talked about the guys diving on the floor. I think that's a real easy way, real simple way to kind of get players' work ethic where they need to be because they know if I don't dive on the floor, I'm getting out, and all players want to be playing, and all players want playing time. So I think that that's kind of an easy way to be able to tell a guy like you weren't working hard enough because you didn't do this thing, such as diving on the floor. So the consequence for that is you're getting subbed out, and I don't think right that your guys can really argue with you on that because they either dived on the floor or they didn't, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. It's one of those things where I think they know that. So a lot of them, like last year, they knew who our scorers were. They knew who our main scorers were. So the guys that, when their numbers were called and they got in the game, they knew that, hey, listen, I got to go in there and I got to play defense. I got to do the stuff that those other three guys might not do, just so I can stay on the court.
Mm.
And a lot of them did buy in. I think a lot of the like defensive habits that I saw when I first got there was kids not moving their feet, not communicating, hands to their side, hands not out, not boxing out. So those are the things I'm preaching to the young kids. Like, listen, the ball goes up, put a body on somebody. Box out, even if you don't get it, someone else will get it on your team, but give your team a chance. Moving your feet, communicate. I think communication on the defensive end is the most important thing because if you need help, say I need help. Say he's blown by me, help. But if you just let him blow by you and you don't say nothing, how can your teammate know that you need help? And that's just something
Yeah.
I said from day one. Like he won't know if his back is turned and you're getting blown by. He don't see it. How can he turn to help you if you don't say help?
Yeah. No, that's a great point.
And that's that help gap. Like so that's why when during practices, I want our gym to be the loudest. I always say because in games, I want our games I want us to be louder than the crowd in the games, where we are so loud that everyone knows that we're talking. We're on a string, we're talking, and it feels like we're one. But if
Mm.
someone is not doing the things of saying, I got ball, I got man, I got gap. If you're not doing that part, we're not as strong as we need to be.
I like that. I think that's something too, uh, for at least my players too. That idea, like you said, about like asking for help, and I think that that's kind of a good point. Is we can maybe think, players could think that like, if I'm going to work really hard, I want to give maximum effort. Like I got to do it all on my own. Like I got to lock this guy down one on one, and I got to make sure that I take care of this or win this one on one matchup, and I can't ask for anyone's help. But to become a smarter basketball player or to have a better mental side of the game, to be able to ask for help or to be able to communicate, that's not always easy for our guys. And I think that I'll let you speak to this actually, Coach. Too is like it sounds like that's something that you're also building up in your guys and their work ethic is how they're communicating, how they're kind of like mentally understanding the game and talking to their teammates. Is that something also that you've been putting a lot of emphasis on?
Yeah, definitely. I think also something that we do as a program is the coaches don't talk to freshmen. Like we don't allow freshmen or sophomores to text us. So you can't the freshmen or the sophomores can't like text us via text message. They got to communicate to the seniors and the juniors of like what questions they have. The reason why we did that is because we want them to talk as a group. So if we have practice, the seniors and the juniors are gonna know we have practice. Or we doing if we have the open gym, they'll know it and they have to communicate that through the younger guys. And they got to if the younger guys got to miss practice, they communicate to the older guys or the team managers and to let us know.
Mhm.
And I think doing that allowed them to kind of one hold each other accountable and say, "Hey, well, I told you we had practice, and in our group chat, you knew we had practice. You decided not to come to practice. I told you
Interesting.
we had to do um we had study hall today and you knew we had study hall and we were all in school. We talked about study hall. You didn't come to study hall. You decided to go someplace else and go to study hall. Now and that gives like last year, our seniors, they policed our team. So if we were in black socks, we knew no black socks for games, white socks. You had to wear a white t-shirt under your home jersey, or you do a great like the seniors, we allowed the seniors to do those things so that it gave them the voice to say, well, this is what coach wants, and this is what we're gonna do. and they didn't have to, because a lot of times the kids don't really want to hear from the coach all the time.
Yeah, no.
After hearing from us, yelling and going over plays and all these things, they don't want to hear from us. They want to hear from somebody else. So if their teammates are doing those things, then when they do hear from us, it's more of, all right, well, I spoke to coach today and we talked about this and that, and it feels more than, I gotta talk to coach today. I don't really want to talk to him because, I'm just not, coach is gonna, be mad or whatever. So them doing those things, I like that they communicate with each other, because then on the basketball court it plays that, oh, hey, we talk all the time. I can tell you, like, listen, get back on defense. Oh, you're not communicating on the rebound, or you're not boxing out. I can have those conversations and no one feels away.
Mm.
So now they
No,
have
that's
that
cool.
relationship. You can tell, and that's the thing. You could tell your buddy, hey, listen. The last play, you let him get by you. You didn't slide your feet. Or you didn't call for help. Or the last play, you didn't put a body on somebody. Or last play, you didn't close out strong enough, and he shot that three in your face because you didn't close out. And he won't feel, oh well, why are you telling me that? You're not my coach. It's more of, I got you, my bad.
And and like you were saying as you were telling that, like that's not easy, right? Players don't naturally, have that ability to, maturely have that conversation, right? If you don't, establish the expectations for your guys, they're gonna start yelling at each other. They're gonna start coming after each other, and next thing you know, you got a huge problem on your hands. So I think that y- for all coaches kind of listening to make sure that your players like know the expectations of what it's like for communication and what you expect and role model that for them. That's huge. And I imagine that like your team chemistry has to be really, really solid, or at least a lot better than, maybe some other teams because you've established those expectations, I imagine.
I think that, and then with the group that we had last year, like that
Yeah.
senior class will always be special to me, because it's the group I came into it last year, and I just got to see how they worked and how the best players would coach each other but didn't berate each other. It was
Yeah.
never it was more of, yo, you my brother, I got your back, but this is what I need from you. I need you to do this for me. Oh, we're gonna go to the gym and get reps up. Who wants to come? Our seniors were in the gym every single day last year. They wanted to be in the gym. They wanted to play all the time. They want to work on their game. They want to, and they, what they did, they also bought this summer. They were some that was around. They bought the young guys with them this summer. They bought some of them with them last year during the season. Like, yo, listen, we're in the gym. I'm gonna put some of you guys under the wing, and we're gonna, work out. And it gave confidence, but it's still trying to be who you are now. Like, you now, the seniors are gone. You are the guy up. How are you gonna lead? So we're just trying to like figuring out who's going to be our leaders this year. I think we're still trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
It's a work in progress every single day, because being a leader is a lot.
Oh
It's a
yeah.
lot to be the voice. It's a lot to be someone to lean on. As a coach, I think that's something I struggle with too sometimes. Like, I was telling someone, the hardest part about being a coach is when you have to let a kid know that, hey, listen, the way the game is going, you might not be able to play today.
Yeah. That's
And
a
it's
tough
like,
conversation.
that's a tough conversation to have, and I'm glad, like, Coach Henderson, like, poured into me and allowed me to have a voice where when I'm having conversation with the kids, they're not looking at it as, all right, well, something bad. It's always something good. It's like, what can you do to earn the time that you get? Like, when I had a
Mhm.
conversation with the kid on last one of my players last week, it was, all right, this game looking like you might not be able to get in. Just the way the game is going, the flow of the game. But I want you to be ready, because at any split second, I could call your number. You could be in. And I end up putting him in the game. He ended up playing
Did you?
the
Nice.
last 5 minutes of the game, gave us some good stuff defensively. And now that him playing like that and him not, and now I looked at it as body language. His body language was still locked into the game. He was the first one up during the timeout. He gave everybody high fives. He didn't worry about not playing. So when I got him in the game, he played. He did his job. He had 3 steals real quick, and then he had a layup. And then, you know, it was one of those things like, yeah, you wasn't gonna play, but your number got called. You was ready. So now, going into our next game on Monday, you're gonna be ready now. So I might call you earlier. You don't know what can happen. So just, continue, pouring into them and letting them feel like, hey, I'm here for you, but also having them establish who they are and see if they can establish their voice also.
Awesome. And that leads to another question, Coach, that I was thinking about in terms of work ethic. We want our guys, we want our players to be, hard workers, off the court. We want to be elevating our guys off the court as well and making sure that they're um becoming better, people and everything like that. And I was curious about what you and your coaching staff have kind of done in terms of the expectations for your programs in terms of their behavior, the way that they carry themselves on and off the court. Are there some certain like rules? I know you mentioned a couple already, but are there like certain rules or standards that are kind of established for your guys so that, you know, they understand what it means to be a part of Capital Prep and they're held to maybe a higher standard than others might be?
Yeah, I think one of the best things about Capital Prep is that one, it's a uniform school. So
Oh, it makes a difference. Yeah.
you got to wear blazers and ties and, things like that. So on away games, you're in your blazer, you're in your school uniform still, your tie, everything's buttoned up because when we're going out, we're looking like one. But also, we're going to hold ourselves, we still got to represent Capital Prep no matter what. Yes, it's the basketball team, but also you got to represent your school also. Think also, just like your grades wise, we are study hall is a must before practice, and we do things where we do check-ins. The good thing is that Coach Henderson is at the school during the day. I work at a middle school during the day. Coach Henderson is there during the day, so he has a lot of these kids for advisory. So
Mm,
he'll get to see them. He'll check in on them with grades, and Capital Prep have this rule that you have to play two sports. So our guys are, if you're not playing basketball, if you're not playing JV basketball, you're doing cross country. You're not doing cross country, you're doing something else, but you're playing football or something. So you're always busy.
yeah, staying active.
They're in school all day. When they get in there, they're there all day. So those things, just having, I think also something that we're gonna do this year is before practice, we're gonna have a team meeting, probably like once a week where we just sit down and talk about stuff. I think we didn't do that last year because of the guys that we had. We, they were gonna have meetings no matter what. But I think with this younger group, you gotta kind of temperature check and see where they're at throughout because there's gonna be a lot of highs and lows. There's gonna be a lot of times where, hey, we might go on a stretch where we're struggling,
Hmm.
but who's gonna still keep the ship running? And I think as coaches, we know that hey, we gotta do check-ins, we're gonna do conversations of hey, how do you guys feel about the season? Like where we are right now, how do you guys feel about, you know, what's going on with us? What can we do to be better? Have guys have more of opinion and voice their opinion and see if it aligns with what we want. I think knowing that these guys want to be good and they want to, get better and they want to play at a higher level. I think a lot of them will be more vocal and they'll tell us, "Hey, coach, listen, what can I do to help us win?" Like I had a kid, I'll never forget last year. He said, "Coach, for us to win, I gotta come with the bench." And he was starting with us. He was like, "Nah, listen, we're doing good, but for us to really be great, I got to come with the bench."
Wow.
And we were what 10-1 at the time when he said that, and we went on like we won 6 games straight after that. He came off the bench and his numbers went up. Even though his minutes went down, his numbers went up. And
Wow. So he was
his
able to realize that about himself, huh?
yeah,
Wow.
he knew that, hey, listen, I can go out there and cause chaos. I can play defense. I can score. I can also give us extra facilitator and give someone a break.
Mm,
And that's what that was. It was like I see what this person is doing. I got to give them a break. Let me be that person to be the break. And it helped us a lot. And I think this year he's stepping into back into the starting role because he's a senior. So he's one of the guys that we are leaning on because he's been through the fire. He knows what it is to win and play at a high level. So he's someone that we're looking at to like, listen, you're the captain this year. So you're gonna be the one that's, making those choices and leading us and hopefully someone else sees that, hey, you know what? I can take a back seat so this person can do what they need to do.
wow. I mean, that speaks a lot about that player's maturity and not only his maturity, but like, man, I just think as a coach for a player to have that much like awareness about himself and his game and know that like this is what's going to help our team be successful. I mean, to have a guy who's like mentally that dialed in and understands the need of the team, like that's a player, man. I imagine, coach, that's invaluable to have somebody who's got that sort of, mental awareness and everything and puts the team first.
Yeah, because I don't think as me as a player, I don't think that's something I ever would have said to a coach. Like, coach, listen, he's doing better. Yeah, I think I could do better off the bench. I don't think I would have been in that mental capacity at the time to do that. So for him to do that, it would really like showed me that, hey, we're in different times now. People are starting to be more self-aware of, what their benefits are. And hey, listen, I can benefit us by being a six man, and I could come in and just cause chaos and score and defend and do these things. And there's no expect. I think for him also, he knew there was no expectations for him when he did that, because now you take the pressure off of being a starter. And being a starter is a lot of pressure. When you're a starter, is a lot of pressure because it's kids that's behind you that's looking at it like, oh, well, I should be starting. Why they're starting? So for him to say, you know what, I'm going to come with the bench and take the pressure off me so I can just play, that
Yeah.
was that was amazing for me to see. Like, I just want to play. I'm gonna do what I need to do once I get in there. It doesn't matter. Maybe think about like Jamal Crawford or someone like that who came off the bench and just thrived at that role.
Yeah, just he could give you, 25 in a blink of an eye. Somebody like that. He just comes in here, like you said, chaos, disruptive, instant offense sort of thing. And what's also kind of cool about that, is like that's also somebody where I imagine the other team, the other coach knows this player's coming, but they might not know exactly when. And then it's like you don't know the situation. It's like a huge X factor to have a guy like that coming in because you never know when he's going to be there, what he's going to do, and now you got to make sure you have a plan for him whenever he comes out in the court.
Yeah, and that was one of the best things for us because you knew that, all right, he's coming. You don't know when he's coming, and then also when he's on the floor at the end of the game. Now you really got to kind of pick who and what you're doing on defense on the other end, because who do you guard for us? And that's what I loved it. I loved when we had, our strong five out there on the court, and coaches were trying to figure out where do we go? Because our point guard was an ox. So you
Mhm.
couldn't put no one small on him. And if you put someone on big on him, he's got a quick first step, he can get there. Then we had a wing that was flying all over the place that could jump out the gym. We had another wing who could play, who could shoot the lights out on the basketball. And we had a big that was mobile around the basket and could create layups. And then we have this kid right here who was another guard that just knew that I could play defense, but I also could hit the shots that's needed, and I could guard the other team's best player without picking up cheap fouls.
Mhm.
When we put that five out there, I knew that we were unbeatable.
Yeah, what a great, awesome feeling. Coach, I'm curious about, and I think you mentioned this a little bit earlier, so I want to circle back to this about things that you and the coaching staff do in practices to really put guys in situations where their work ethic, their competitiveness, their toughness, physical and mental toughness is being challenged. Do you in your practices, is there a lot of competition? Is there a lot of like whether it's a small sided games or things where guys are kind of competing with each other and you can kind of see who really wants it the most?
Definitely. We, I think now, especially, we have two middle schoolers that's playing JV with us, and they're actually really good that they can both play varsity if needed. If we need to call them up, we could. But what I love about them is that they're smaller guards that played basketball at a high level AAU, and they love to pressure the ball. So what we allow them to do is to get in there during practice and pressure our ball handlers and make them feel uncomfortable to the point where they can't even get the pass off if they needed it, because they're so, it's like these two young kids are amazing where they trap at they trap so well that you can't even if you think about sneaking it off, they're gonna get a steal. And so we during the games we'll put them against our that group against our starting group, and just let them go at it. Let them fluster them from both ends of, you're not going to be able to bring the ball past half, but all that does is allow our guards to get better of, hey, he likes to get under us. We got now got to turn our back and like dribble and turn to the side. Different things of, we allow them to really go at it like it's a game, like during like it's a regular game, but also don't go away from what our principles are. So our defensive principle still has to be there. We're talking on offense has to be there. The cuts needs to be there. The passing goals need to be there, just so they can feel like, all right, this is what the game is gonna feel like. But having those two young guys in there mixing up, like we'll get the younger guys to come in and play and just go at them. make them feel uncomfortable, make them have to think about their next move before they do it. It was good. Like we had practice on Friday, and I was watching it with the head coach. We were watching him,
Hmm.
and these young guys are great. Like they're making these guys work today. But that just builds up, because now you're gonna go home thinking about it like, dang, I let him get a steal off of me. He should never got that. I gotta be better with
Uh,
handling now. I gotta make sure I turn my body and I see the whole court. I make the first pass instead of me trying to dribble through pressure. Let me make the pass so I don't turn it over. And those are things they're working on of yes, they pressing you, but what do? The ball moves faster than the man. Move the ball. Find your
mhm.
open. If two people are you, that means someone is open. Find your open teammate. So it goes back to the defensive principles and the defense that we do. Like, hey, you see the defense is coming, they setting it. What are you gonna do? How are you gonna react?
No, that's awesome. And I imagine with when just kind of picturing that in my head, coach, I imagine that your guys like knowing the competitive nature and knowing the types of things that are happening at your practice, there must be a certain level of excitement they get to when they go into practice every day because they just know they're always getting that opportunity to compete. They must always be ready for it every practice.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the practice that just happened on Friday, I think that's gonna
Hmm.
be the thing that turns the corner for our group going forward. I think they had to be able to feel that because now it's Friday and you got these young guys coming at you, and then you got to think about we got a game on Monday. And I got a text earlier from one of my guys, but it was already too late. I was getting ready for this week of, hey, could we get into the gym today? But he texted me too late. If he'd have reached out to me this morning, like coach, we in the gym this morning, I'd have made something happen for us to be in the gym. But I just love seeing that because that shows that hey, they've been thinking about what happened on Friday and they want to get better. So I know that we got a game on Monday, but Wednesday we're in the gym for practice. Tuesday they have conditioning. So Wednesday we'll be in the gym for practice.
Awesome. No, that's great. Coach, something that you mentioned earlier, and I was curious to get your thoughts on this, is you said that your guys or maybe players in general, they play a lot of pickup, but it's not, really structured. And so they're going to maybe pick up bad habits or not really be playing the game the right way. So kind of knowing that, does that mean that you got to kind of put guys in situations where, you're challenging them, but also making sure that they're working on, correct movements and making correct decisions and that it's not like unorganized or chaotic? Do you kind of have to like purposely plan for that to make sure that, they're making right actions and good reads?
Yeah, I think something that we definitely do during the season is there's no nonsense pickup games. So if there's a free rec at the Y, you're not going there to play pickup games. If you're gonna go, you got to go out there to go and be there working on your free throws. You're working on your moves by yourself. You're working on ball handling, and even in practice now, like these kids in the summer, a lot of them played bad pickup. So now
Hmm.
we're trying to fix things. If you are 6'2" forward, power forward, you got a body of a center, you shouldn't be picking and fading, shooting threes and missing shots. No, let's go down there, let's work on your post move. One hard bounce, go middle, lay the ball up, big fingers, lay the ball up, spin off, make a layup. If you're gonna pick and pop, you pick and pump fake and then go to the basket. So they set the screen, set the screen, and then you catch the ball, you pump fake, one dribble to the rim. Guards working on floaters, finishing with contact, not just coming down taking threes over pick and roll. I think that's something that they do during free play and things like that. So when they come to practice, it's like when a screen is set, you don't always gotta shoot it off the screen. A lot of times players catch if they call for a pick, they're gonna shoot it right away. And I'm like, you don't always gotta do that because you can find a gap. Because you can take a step in, pull up, mid-range shot. You don't have to take a three. So it's like breaking those bad habits is something that you got to consistently do because they're going to continue going in the summertime playing bad basketball, or they're playing leagues that they don't really move the ball like that. They get in, they take bad shots, or they don't play defense. And then you got to come in and fix those things throughout the season so that,
Yeah.
trickle down.
Yeah, that's interesting to kind of think about that, right? Because I'm sure you as a coach can kind of tell if your guys are playing like pickup situations or if they, picking up bad habits and stuff like that. You can probably tell by the way that they work that they weren't working on the things that they needed to, and now you got to spend a lot more time trying to correct or fix things that they should have been getting reps in on their own.
Yeah, definitely. I think also like even with not using the tools of that basketball gives you. So making the correct pass instead of trying to dribble through traffic. Being patient. Those don't happen during pickup. Those you play at a fast pace during pickup. Y'all take bad shots. Y'all heave up threes from all over the court. Y'all don't if y'all playing full court, I know y'all don't get back on defense. I know you guys
Hmm.
don't communicate. That one thing about playing full court and not getting back on defense, that's something that like that right there is like where I say that I tell my guys, if you're gonna play full court, you don't after the first play, y'all don't get back on defense, quit. Say you don't want to play no more because you're gonna know for a fact that no one's gonna get back on defense. And y'all just gonna spend time coming down, taking bad shots, and walking back down, and
Yep.
it's not gonna feel like a game. You might as well play half court, 4-on-4, and then that'll be more competitive.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I see that too with even some of my girls when they play, where they wanna they'll play or they'll talk about going up to playing, and people are just walking or people are just not really trying on everything. And it's like, man, the way that you play in this pickup game or the way what you're trying to do, like you will never get that never happened during a game. And so like, what is it you're really working on? All you're kind of doing is just like you said, picking up bad habits. So no, I think that was a really interesting thing that you brought up. Coach, before I hit our concluding segment, I did want to ask you specifically, and I know you brought up a couple examples. I was wondering if you had any more you could share about situations where players maybe faced adversity, where players, really faced a struggle or faced a difficult situation in your program and were able to overcome it. Like, how did they kind of use their work ethic, their physical work ethic, mental work ethic, emotional work ethic? What was the situation that one of your players was in that they were able to kind of overcome because of their work ethic?
Um, I think perfect example. We had a player last year who was in his head a lot,
Hmm.
and he made basketball more difficult than what it was. And every time he took a shot, he would look at the bench, look at us at the bench because he just wasn't confident. And it was one of those things where I had a conversation with him. I said, "Listen, you're thinking too much about it. I know you've been working, but you're thinking too much." I said, "Stop thinking too much. Stop looking over here at us and think, hey, if I miss a shot, they're gonna pull me. It's not gonna be like that. We're gonna let you play through it." And it took him a while. He struggled all season last year, and he even said that he was going to quit basketball this summer. He said he wasn't going to play anymore. He said he just didn't have it in him. And then the other day, he came to the gym. We had a conversation. He's back at practice now. He's starting to find a love for the game. What's good about this that he has a 4.3 GPA. So he doesn't need basketball to go to college. He can just go because of academics. He wants to be an engineer, I believe. So him finding the love of the game, it was just because he's starting to fall in love with it. It wasn't something that he needed to love. If you get what I'm saying, like
Yeah.
he didn't have to. It's not his. For me, basketball was my way out. For me to get out of East New York, Brooklyn, basketball was my way out. For him, it's not his way out because academically he can go anywhere to do what he wants. So he doesn't need basketball. So for him to fall in love with it again and want to be part of it and know this is his senior year and he just wants to be part of the brotherhood and have the camaraderie, that was his work ethic and him working hard and him doing those things got him back to that. Because he said this summer he worked on the shots that we talked about last year, the corner shots and the mid range on the free throw line and from the elbow and the straightaway threes and finishing at the rim. He worked on those things and then he started falling in love again, little by little. And then he said he was like, "Listen, I got to play my last year." He's like, "If this is the last time I play basketball, I'd rather play basketball with this group of people that I've been playing with." And I'm starting to love the game. So when you see that, it's like
Yeah.
it's there. They want it and they want to get to whatever goals they have, but sometimes it's like they have roadblocks, and we all have roadblocks that we have to get through sometimes. For me, I didn't get to get into this in the beginning, but I am in school. I
Hmm.
graduated with my bachelor's degree in May. I have two young daughters. I'm a husband. I'm an educator during the day. I'm still chasing my dreams of, coaching college basketball one day, but also coaching high school right now, building my team up. I'm a first generation graduate. So it's so much that comes with me that I know that when I'm around my boys, I got to pour into them because I'm still trying to figure out who I am, and I'm still learning and growing. Like basketball is still on the coaching end, it's still fairly new to me. So like a lot of terminology and things like that. And that's why if someone catches me, they'll catch me at a practice at a college practice or something because I'm asking the right questions and I'm trying to learn because I can't teach these boys if I don't know something. I gotta
Mm.
bring something to the table. Every time I'm around my boys, I gotta have something for them because they want to know, hey coach, what new drills you got for us today? Like what new things you got for us today? What are we doing this week? So it's like
Always learning. Yeah.
there's a lot of learning going on. There's a lot of, pouring into the kids, pouring into yourself and your family. And that's what makes this thing so great.
Oh, that's awesome. No, I love that lifelong learning and how cool that short story that you shared about that player, learning to love the game again. I think when we get those players who come back and realize how much the game means to them and how much being a part of the program means to them, man, that's awesome. Coach, to wrap up, there's a couple of questions that I ask every guest. So I'll start with this first one, which is um, thinking back on your coaching career. What is a moment from your coaching career, a coaching moment of yours that you think that you can share and that by sharing it, our listeners would be able to learn from that moment?
Um, wow, that's a good question. That's a
It's
good one.
it's tough sometimes. I know there's so many of them too sometimes
Yeah,
and some yeah.
I think I'd have to go back to my first year actually coaching middle school. I was coaching the eighth grade middle school team. I was assistant coach of eighth grade middle school team. And it was just a breath of fresh air, brand new, trying to figure things out. I had a great head coach at the time, Sherrod, at Avenues. And it was one of those things where our guys played basketball just to play basketball. It was for fun. It wasn't
Mhm.
nothing behind it. And that group right there really they really made me really want to coach because after the first few practices and you see them again, seeing them starting to fall in love with the aspect of the game. And, you got guys who might not play for anybody else ever because of skill level.
Mhm.
You see that you put them a part of it and they're in the practices, they're going harder than people, they're diving for loose balls. Those were the moments that was like, wow, this is something that is life changing.
Yeah.
I think I'll never forget our last game of that season. We were down, I think 11, and we ended up coming back and winning the game. And the boys were just so excited because they was like, we're a winning team. Like we're winning, we're getting a trophy, and they love that. So that was something that I'll never forget.
That's so cool. Awesome, coach. I really appreciate you sharing that. And to wrap it up, coach, I give every guest kind of what I call this 60-second soapbox. I like to use that as kind of a way for you to get out kind of a closing thought, a final message, a closing idea, something that you want to leave the listeners with. And you can take it like any direction that you want, basketball wise or coaching wise. I kind of leave it up to be your soapbox, coach. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of give you the floor. And you can go over 60 seconds too, because I'm not going to time you. But I'm going to let you kind of take it from here, whatever direction you want to take for your closing message, coach.
My closing message is I've been saying this to myself for the past 3 years. It's not how you start, it's how you finish. Your journey is your journey, no matter what. Don't compare yourself to no one else. Um, like if what's meant for you is meant for you. I'm big on spirituality, so like I put God first, and that's who get got me to where I'm at, and believing in what I believe in, but trusting the game, trusting the process, pouring into the players, but just live your truth, whatever your truth is, whatever you want to take from life, whatever you want to take from the game of basketball, that's yours. Believe in yourself, and work hard. Don't skip steps. There's no cheat code to getting to where you want to get to. I'm living proof of that. Maybe one day when I finally make it to my dream of coaching college, I can come back and tell the story of how I got there. And maybe if you guys hear Coach Fisher's name in the next few
Mhm.
years, you will know, hey, listen, Coach Fisher started from here and he did this, and he finally got things where he got, and look where he's at now. So just continue believing in yourself. That's all I can say.
Awesome. What a great message to leave off of. And yeah, for sure, man. It would be really cool one day when you get that college coaching position. I'm like, "Ah, I remember when he said he was going to be there." So, no, that's cool. Definitely something to look out for all of us. Coach, really appreciate you coming on here talking about the program, Capital Prac, talk about work ethic, pushing players, getting them to that next level mentally and physically, and all the great stuff that's going on in your program. Hopefully, it's a great season coming up this coming year. Look forward to kind of following you and your coaching journey as you continue to learn and continue on your path on this great coaching career. And so, again, Coach, appreciate it and best of luck going forward.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me, and good luck to you guys this season also.
Appreciate that a lot, Coach. And thank you guys so much for listening. This was another edition of the Basketball Teacher Podcast. We will see you guys next time.
Thank you for listening to another edition of the Basketball Teacher Podcast. Make sure to connect with us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, or reach us directly through email at basketballteacherpodcast@gmail.com. Take care, be safe, and we'll see you next time.